Welcome to the BW Group podcast, the show where we help Montreal homeowners make smart real estate and lifestyle decisions with confidence. Today's episode is especially valuable for those of you navigating the complex and often emotional process of helping aging parents plan their next move, or for seniors themselves who are starting to consider a downsize to a retirement residence.
Thanks for pressing play. You're listening to the Broady Windsor Group on Real Estate, the podcast for homeowners seeking guidance and support on everything related to owning a home. This includes much more than just buying or selling. We've got you covered for everything from mortgages and financing to home maintenance tips, renovation and design advice, and of course, the latest insights and analysis on what's happening in our local communities.
Today, we're joined by Kate Coulter, a trained social worker and senior logic consultant. Kate is the owner of GerontoLogis, a company that has been guiding families through senior living transitions for over 30 years with compassion, clarity, and expertise. Kate has seen it all, from early stage planning to urgent moves, and today she's here to share her insights on how to spot the right time to act, avoiding common pitfalls, and choosing housing options that truly support aging well. Kate, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Sean. This is really exciting to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, I'm really happy to have you here today. This is a topic that we're getting a lot of questions from our community. A lot of our clients are adult children who are helping their parents, and we have a lot of seniors who are considering either downsizing from their larger family home, or if they're a little bit later in life, considering moving to a senior's residence. Can you give us a little bit of background about your journey and how you got into this line of work?
Certainly. Yeah, that's right. My background is actually in community housing. As a trained social worker, I was a community worker for about 20 years, developing nonprofit affordable housing for different clientele, whether it be single family or owners of homeowners who were downsizing to a nonprofits where it was more affordable, um, uh, and seniors, of course. Yeah. So at a certain point in my career, I decided I wanted something different. I wanted something less project management and more sort of hands-on working with the seniors in our community. So I actually approached the previous owner of GerontoLogis and asked her if I could work with her. And within a year, I had bought the company with another consultant, and who's since retired. And I just love doing what I'm doing, and I've been doing it for more than 20 years now, even though GerontoLogis has been around for 30 years. And I have a team of 3 other consultants with a social work background.
That's amazing and very interesting. And I know you're still involved in the local community with subsidized housing that was where we first met.
That's right. Yeah.
Was through I should mention Kate's a local Beaconsfield resident, and you're very involved on the board at the Villa Beaurepaire. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Beaurepaire was one of my last projects when I was working for what they call a GRT, a Groupe de Ressources Techniques. That's a nonprofit community housing developer. And it was my last project, and I couldn't let go. And since I'm a Beaconsfield resident, and I've always wanted to have a project like that in Beaconsfield, so nonprofit, community-supported housing, I volunteered my time, and that was, 2010. So it's been 15 years that I've been involved in that project. It was spearheaded by the Beaurepaire United Church, and it's still going strong. We have 50 apartments for autonomous seniors, and we offer 1 meal a day. And there's a lot of camaraderie in the building, support for each other. It's like a big family over at Villa Beaurepaire, and people from the community sit on the board as well as tenants who are living in the building.
Well, I have to say, when I was invited over to meet you and the people that are running Villa Beaurepaire, I met a bunch of the residents. I got a tour of the building and the grounds. I was so impressed with it. And I feel it's important for our audience to realize that this is right here in the Beaurepaire village,
Mm-hmm.
available for our seniors. I think it doesn't get enough exposure. So I'm glad we're here today to talk a little bit more about Villa Beaurepaire. Can you give us, the audience, just a little bit more information, maybe people who are considering going to a senior's residence? What does it look like to apply to Villa Beaurepaire? What is it like to live there? Maybe just a little bit more information about it. As I think we should plug it. I think it's an amazing
For
place.
sure. So you would go to see our manager, Mary Stewart, and she would give you a tour of the apartments and the building overall, and explain to you the services that we have there, which is basically social activities and 1 meal a day. And the meal is a social activity. It's quite the hub. When you walk in that dining room, there's a buzz.
Is that lunch or supper or
It's
breakfast?
lunch. It's lunch Monday to Thursday, breakfast on Friday, and a continental breakfast on the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a full-time activity coordinator. And of course, the residents who live there organize a lot of their own activities as well. We have a beautiful outdoor space. Everyone has a full apartment. So it's not a residence with care. Everyone has to be interviewed by volunteers on our selection committee. And when we have a vacancy, which is not always that often, then they would be interviewed and move in fairly quickly. We do have half the building is rent geared to income. So there is some rent subsidies available. And that comes from the provincial government. And the other half, so the other 25 apartments, are moderate income, affordable rent, definitely affordable.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed about it. I found it to be very affordable compared to some of the other private seniors residences that are out there. I also noticed when I got a tour of the building, you have underground parking so people can bring their car. So it's really geared towards autonomous seniors.
That's right. That's right.
Fantastic. I think it's fantastic. Let's change gears a little bit and dive into a little bit more about how we can help families navigate this process. So I'd like to talk about how adult children can recognize when it's time to start the conversation about moving their parents into a smaller home. Maybe it's a condo, maybe it's a bungalow, or maybe a senior's residence.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I don't think any of us like change when we get older. And when you're younger, you're full of adventures, and desires like that. But when you're older, change is very difficult. And ideally, in an ideal world, your parent would ask for your help. Right? They say, okay, my house is too big. You've all left. Or unfortunately, their spouse may have passed away. And they say, I just can't look after the house. They may be recognizing that you're doing a lot of work for them around the house. Maybe it's time to sort of reduce that stress load for you and for them and to move to a retirement home, at that point. And when they're making their decisions, we're talking about a retirement home for more autonomous seniors. That's in an ideal world, but often it doesn't happen like that. I think a lot of the companies built senior residences hoping that people would make those decisions to move in earlier. But human nature is that we don't like change. And so we often wait to the last minute, right? We say, okay, and there's a lot of pride involved and fear of change. So I always suggest to people, you need to become sort of a detective, a subtle, kind detective to sort of observe your parents, observe how they're doing on a day-to-day basis. A lot of times my clients are from out of town or they're not living with their parent. They might not live in the same town, the same city, the same province, or the same country. So phone calls, it's really hard to detect what's going on with a phone call. So when you visit, do come and visit, obviously, visit and sort of observe what, how they're carrying out their day-to-day activities. How are they eating? Are they are they planning their meals? Are they managing their finances? Are you already doing it? Are they taking the medications? Are they looking after their hygiene? Are they getting out? Are they isolated? Maybe they're depressed. Maybe sometimes you have to talk to a neighbor, especially if it's in an apartment building and you have easy access to neighbors. You have to do it with, respecting their dignity and their independence and their pride. That's really important. And depending on your relationship with your parent, you can be very honest with them that you're concerned. And I think it's always important to take it from your perspective. I'm concerned for you. We don't want to accuse them, but I'm concerned for you. I'm concerned that, you're not getting out as much as you used to. And it all depends on your relationship with your parent. You might want to have a very honest conversation with them, or, you just might want to sort of throw out some ideas and let those sort of incubate a little bit and come back to it.
I think that's all very good advice. It's definitely a tricky topic to navigate, depending on the receptiveness of your parents, seniors. I know we've gone through that ourselves in our family with my father-in-law, and resistance to change is a big one. One thing that I've really noticed that there's I think it's a common misconception, and I think it holds a lot of seniors back. And that is, there seems to be a consensus among many seniors that a senior's residence is really only for the very old and frail. And we get a lot of comments from seniors who say, oh no, there's no way, I'm nowhere near at the stage where I'm ready to go to a seniors residence. So they kind of have this opinion of seniors residences that I think is misguided. And I think there's a myth there that we can debunk about who these residences are actually designed for and what living in a seniors residence looks like for an active senior. Can you talk to that point a little bit?
Mm-hmm. In Quebec, we're lucky that we have such a variety, especially in the West Island. We have more residences in the West Island and of all different varieties, categories of autonomy. More in the West Island, I think in the whole province of Quebec, it's quite phenomenal. So we have a lot of choices. So in Quebec, we have different categories 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then right up to a CHSLD. I won't get into those sort of levels, the higher levels. But the 1 and 2 those categories are for independent seniors. And those are more retirement homes. And I have to say that a majority of my clients find those places on their own. They're independent to go and look for those places. But when I do go to visit them, which I'm going to see one this afternoon, you walk in there and you think, I could live here. I could live here. I would love to give up, cooking and to be able to socialize with my friends every night at dinner time. It's sort of like a cruise that doesn't go anywhere.
So they're lively.
They're
Fun.
lovely. They have so many amenities. Some of them even have a bowling alley, but they all have a dining room
Yeah.
where you can have lunch or dinner. Breakfast is not served in the retirement homes, like that. You have, you have lecture halls, you have billiard rooms, you have games rooms, you have indoor pools, sometimes outdoor pools. You have spa exercise rooms.
Gathering areas I've seen. I've even seen a golf simulator.
Yeah, golf simulator, bowling alleys.
I know, I agree.
Yeah. They have a phenomenal amount of amenities to keep you active. One residence I go to, a retirement residence, I should say. They have an indoor calendar of activities and an outdoor calendar of activities. So they have outings. So there's lots to do. It's up to you to participate or not. It's also not a prison. You come and go as you wish, just like you would in a regular apartment building. But you have those amenities in place. There's more, I think, peace of mind. There's a bit more security as well.
More social interaction is
soc-
important.
Absolutely more social interaction. That lady I'm seeing this afternoon, that's one of the reasons why she's moving. She's living in a basement apartment and she's quite isolated anyway socially. So she wants to be in a place, even at a young age, actually, she's only 65. She wants to be in a place where she can be around other people and choose to come out of her apartment and go downstairs and get her hair cut downstairs. And maybe while she's down there, she'll go have a coffee with a friend, so she's really looking forward to something like that.
I think that's important that you touched on. I think so. These level 1 and 2, you're looking at often a younger demographic.
A younger, I wouldn't say age is, I have to say age is just a number.
That's right.
Because the average age in these retirement homes is 85.
Okay.
But you can get from 55 to 105.
Wow.
Because really, age is just a number. It's all about your autonomy and your attitude and,
But
your
you do see
enthusiasm.
people in their 60s and 70s that are enjoying life there,
Yes.
vibrant.
The reality is that if you move into a place like that where you have a lot of inclusions, you also have inclusions like a medical clinic. So there is a nurse on site and a doctor most of the time available, which is covered by Medicare, by the way, unless you have sort of an ongoing service that comes to your apartment. Because you have all those amenities and those services, the rent will be more than just in a regular apartment.
Sure.
So if you're moving in at your younger years, you have to consider your budget.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Do you get into that a little bit with walking through seniors and talking about their budget and?
For sure, especially when we're looking at category 3, which is an assisted, it's autonomous and semi-autonomous and some assisted living floors. You get into category 4 on the assisted living floors. Of course, that's a consideration, is how much it's going to
Very
cost.
expensive. Yeah.
Well, and we don't have a crystal ball to know how much care we're going to need in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see families make when helping a parent transition to senior living or trying to help a parent transition to senior living?
Not hiring us.
Not getting help, seeking help.
Not getting help, for sure. And there's help in so many different places. Because a lot of times by the time people come to me, they're quite burnt out. Or the senior themselves have come to me and they're in hospital or rehab and they can't return home.
Yeah.
we can't predict that and we can't plan for that. That's for sure. But as far as, if you're helping a loved one and you're finding that you're stressed, your health is being affected, then you definitely need to seek help. And that could be by, moving to a senior's residence and working with a lodging consultant, or it could mean bringing in outside services, from a home care agency, from the CLSC. Um, and also, I have a strong alliance with a social worker whose name is Christine Baldry, and her company is called Navigata. And she's there for the caregiver. She actually works primarily with the caregivers. So she's there, the advocate for the senior and the caregiver. She can help you get a CLSC file open. She can help you homologate a mandate. She can help you uh, just do research on how to get a better price for Videotron or how, any kind of services, basically. Take the load off you, as a caregiver.
There's a lot of help out there.
Yeah,
Just
there's
need
a
to
lot of
reach
help
out
out
for
there.
it.
And we don't have a crystal ball to know what's going to happen. And I think if your family, your friends are telling you that, wow, you're very, very stressed, then you definitely need to seek out some help. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we come in there too. So at the stage when you've made the decision, then we provide a lot of support to the caregiver. Caregiver, I'm talking about like a family caregiver, right? A daughter, a son, um, a niece or nephew, whoever's taking charge of the situation. We provide them a lot of support to help them know what the options are.
Yeah, very important. I think us on the real estate side and you helping with the lifestyle transition can work very closely together because we deal with it on the home. So if one of the mistakes we see is some people wait too long, whereas they're not able to manage anymore. And then, as you said, that burden and stress falls on their kids who, again, they're in that sandwich generation. They've got their own families and jobs that they're dealing with and trying to help mom and dad and trying to manage the house. And sometimes we see the house really start to deteriorate because the maintenance starts to suffer. And so that really does affect the equity of the value of the house. And all that plays into the plan of being able to work out the next, whatever it is, 15, 20 years of the downsize. So moving to a residence or a downsize. So I think engaging help early on in the process before you think you may need it is probably good advice. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's a really good point. In fact, when you say early on, that makes me think of sometimes people are not ready to accept help, right? So I always say to people, bring someone in that becomes their buddy, but it's not a buddy who's going to come and actually help them, with a shower, for example, getting in and out of the tub safely. Maybe it's a housekeeper, and they spend time with them indirectly and then eventually become more friendly, and that person can then help them out and become a companion for the future. So it's introducing them early on. I hear a lot of people who do that, and it was sort of happened indirectly. It wasn't
That's a
their
great
intention.
idea.
It wasn't the intention.
Yeah. Start with maybe some housework, then maybe it's some meals, and then it's a little bit more and more.
And then they're your eyes in the house,
Yeah.
right? Especially if you're living out of town.
That's a great idea. And then you're developing that trust
Mm-hmm.
with
Yeah.
the seniors.
Exactly. And then when they do eventually move to a residence, then that person is there as a companion and help them with the transition because they
Amazing.
trust them and they have a bond.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So you can help with that,
Mhm.
finding this companion.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, this is great. Really interesting. I'm learning stuff. So we talked a little bit about professionals like you and the real estate side. Is there anything else you would recommend that people think about when talking to mom and dad about the different options out there? Like we're starting to see some people saying that they'd like to stay in their house. And so there's the option, like you touched on briefly, of bringing care to the house rather than moving them into a residence. And we're seeing some people now retrofit their homes with lifts to go up the stairs or even putting in elevators. Have you sort of had any experience with these type of situations? And do you offer help for people to find caregivers or even full-time caregivers? Then you talked about a companion, but someone that's more advanced and needs a little bit more full-time help at home. Is that type of thing available, or is it difficult to
Yes.
find?
Yes. No, that's very much available. And sometimes when people call me And I try to help them to assess, is this urgent or not? And, at the end of the day, if the person does not want to move, it's their right to stay where they are, right? So sometimes you don't have a choice.
No.
You have to try and make a plan work, whether it's retrofitting their house or bringing in a private home care agency or an individual that you may find. I'm not really good at finding individuals, but I do have some really good referrals that I can give them from home care
Home
agencies.
care agents.
So that will sort of bridge that time between when they really have to move or they decide to move.
Okay.
So it might be, helping with what they call the ADLs, activities of daily living, helping with medication management, which is really, really important if you're taking medications that are crucial to your health. Hygiene, it is important. It depends on the level of hygiene care that's needed, and meal preparation. I think at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you, as a loved one, have peace of mind that your parent is safe and secure. So, putting in a lift may not be very useful if the person is a flight risk. If they have some dementia and their cognitive loss is such that they don't remember where they live, they go out for a walk and they can't remember.
Yeah.
They get lost, especially in the wintertime. It's horrible. So that kind of thing is really hard. Well, there are systems, like camera systems now. The technology is amazing right now with the camera systems that you can have in the home.
true.
You can have a two-way conversation with the person.
Yeah.
Um,
Leveraging
So-
technology. So there is some extra.
leveraging technology,
Yeah, it makes sense.
people in the home and so I do refer them to other sources until they come to the point where, maybe 6 months or a year later, they call me and say, okay, it's just, we've reached our tipping point where the services and technology we put in place is just not working as well. And also the stress load on me is just way too much.
Yeah, I could relate to that. Well, I should mention Kate helped our family, my wife Kim and her dad. We had to move him to Montreal from the Eastern Townships and find a residence for him. So Kate was great in taking us and showing us the different various options at different price points and different levels of care that were available. And obviously they had to assess his condition cognitively. So there's a process that's involved there. But I can say for sure that having that help from you definitely took a lot of stress off Kim and myself. So I think take advantage of
Yes,
help.
we're there to help. We meet with the person individually. If they're out of town, that if they're in some kind of a hospital rehab, we'll connect with the social worker or the medical staff there to get the hospital reports from those professionals. But we do always meet with the person as long as they're close by,
Yeah.
within reasonable driving distance, to do our own assessment. It helps me to sort of put a name to the face and a face to the name and get to know their character a little bit. I remember your father-in-law coming from the countryside. One of the places that we looked at, they had chickens
Yeah.
in the backyard, and we thought, well, that might be a drawing point for him. It might be sort of help him to make that transition. So we're trying to find that little sort of characteristic that we can latch on to help to get his buy-in. Really, we had to get his buy-in, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that helps to see the person, to meet the person, to get to know them a little bit. And then once, we're there, once they've made the decision, whether it's the family making the decision or the senior making the decision, we're there for the lease signing. So we're there to support them and provide some continuity. So after the lease signing, if, they say, well, they didn't say that when we were there. And I said, well, actually, let me just go over that with you a little bit again, and also to make sure that they know their rights and responsibilities as a leasee. And then when we follow up with them after they've moved in. So just to help them with that transition, especially in the first 2 weeks, because it's really the unknown. It's sort of,
Yeah, it can be scary.
it can be scary. It can be really scary. And if I know other people who are already in the building, I can sort of match them up and make sure that they then transition to looking to the residents as their safe place and someone they can speak to there in the residence. So helping them with that transition is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice and very helpful. Okay, this has been a very interesting and informative conversation. I want to thank you again for stopping in to chat with us. Where can our listeners and where can our local Montreal audience, where can they find you? How's the best place to find you, and how should they contact you?
Well, I have a website, and obviously you can go to that website. It's GerontoLogis.com. So I think they'll probably be listed in this video.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
post all of the Kate's website and her company contact information down below for anybody that wants to reach out to her.
Right. So I have a team. We work with English residences and French residences. The bilingual residences are our resources, and my team is bilingual. Obviously, we tend to stick in the West Island, right up to sort of Montreal center, and then off island west to sort of Vaudreuil-Rigaud territory.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a residence and some assistance on the North Shore, the South Shore, the East End, then we're part of an association, a regional association of lodging consultants, and our website is achq.com. And on that website, you'll find our members, and it's by region. So maybe you could reach out to another agency in another territory. But we've been working in the West Island for 30 years, and our services are no charge. People should know that.
Oh, very important.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. So this industry has been around for about 45 years. And the nature of the business in Quebec is that we don't charge the clients. We are working with the seniors and their families. And ultimately, after our seniors have moved into a residence, we charge the residents a fee.
Okay.
So it's kind of a win-win. The leasing agents get a well-prepared profile of the person, and when they meet with us, there's a pretty good chance the person's going to move in. Not always, but it's very different than someone walking off the street, right, for a leasing agent.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
So it's a win-win, and there's a lot of support that we give to the senior and the family to help them through this process.
And the residences.
Yeah, exactly.
Vetting people and helping through the transition process. Great.
Exactly.